Hi Adarsh,
Hi, Ayushri. Good
good
evening.
evening.
Very good evening.
How are you?
Very well. How are you?
All good. Thank you very much for joining us and deciding to share your story
Pleasure.
with us today.
It's a
Yes,
pleasure.
yes. So Adarsh, we'll just wait for Jagat and Vijeta to join, and we'll just start shortly.
Sure, sure.
Meanwhile, just letting you know that while we go live on Vidphone, we are also going live on all our social media channels. That's LinkedIn, Facebook.
Mhm.
Akil would also share the links here in case you want to share it with someone. Please feel free to do so.
Definitely.
Thank you.
We will share it on our LinkedIn page.
Yes, yes. YouTube, Facebook. So Akila shared it on the comments. So in case you want to pass on, somebody can just view it there also. If they are
Mhm.
not being able to view us here.
Yeah,
Thanks. Thanks, Akil.
pleasure.
Hi, Adarsh.
Hi, Jagat.
How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Super. Nice to have
Hi,
you.
Jagat.
And hi, Ayush.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Pleasure to have me.
Yes. Yes.
Super. Over to
We
you.
were just waiting for you, and I just told Adarsh we'll just wait for you and Vijeta to join, and we'll take it from there. But I think Vijeta would also join us shortly. But before that, since we are already at 7:30, we'll just start off. That's fine, right, Jagat? I think we can just start off and have some
Yes.
discussions, and I'm sure Vijeta would join us shortly. Yes. So first, thank you again, Adarsh, for joining us today and coming. We put this out and you reached out, and it's a very important topic. That you wanted to share with us, and a very important industry also. And that's the entire point about this Eureka series, where we call. We want to get these innovative ideas out,
Hmm.
so that how it's making us change, how it's creating impact. So it's very good to have you with us today. Thank you again. Thank you to all our viewers who have joined us on the platform and who are watching us live. So today, Adarsh, Jagat, over to you. Maybe just to kick it off, and then we take it from there.
Sure. I think Adarsh, we're friends, I think, from, the ecosystem. I'm super happy to have Adarsh. And, a lot of our work is really about whether we meet them offline sometimes or we meet them
Yes.
I think there's a
Yeah, I
first and
think.
then they get on Vidphone and then different. So all yours, Adarsh.
Yeah. Jagat, we just lost you for a bit in between.
Yeah,
Just
I think
for a.
looks like the laptop's overworked. I'm just
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So, Adarsh, I think by the time Jagat comes back,
signing in
first,
through the phone. I think over to you, Adarsh. Like, just get started. I'll catch it in a bit.
yes,
yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So, before that, I would just like to tell everyone who has
Hmm.
joined us today that we have Adarsh with us today, who's the founder of Social.HR. And I would let Adarsh tell us, what Social.HR does and a little about the industry you are in, Adarsh. Would like to
Yeah.
start with that.
So, thank you so much, uh, Vidphone and the team, to have me on your platform to talk about the industry that I'm working with and the problem that I'm trying to solve. Right? Thank you so much, and very good evening to everybody who's joined in on a Friday evening. So, thank you so much to all. To put in the context of the discussion, let me give you some background, like where I come from, why this, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing this, right? So I come from a
Yes.
sales and marketing background. Started my career long back. I have a 15 plus years of experience. Started with sales, marketing, and then moved on to HR, and as to work with people constantly in the front end of the people business, that is recruitment. So from there onwards, we did good in the market, and we were doing good business in terms of recruitment and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
However, this space is kind of when we were ideating, there were like kind of there are every organization when you look at, there are like
Yeah.
4 or 5 problems. Out of that, 2 or 3 problems are from the HR vertical,
Yes.
HR
Always.
background.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
every organization today is looking out to hire the good talent.
Yeah.
How do you manage the talent, and how do you retain the talent? So
Yes.
this has been supply and management challenges that every organization has, and it is there. It's a challenge that people are trying to solve it, with their
Yeah.
products and services and solutions. So
Yeah.
likewise, we are also doing the same, uh,
Yeah.
trying to solve a very specific problem of employee attrition. And employee attrition is something organizations are today are looking at it very closely, because that is you know taking a lot of hit on their bottom line, because of the
Yes.
kind of talent market today it is, and the
Yeah.
time taken to rehire a particular resource, and the cost to rehire and to train them and to get them on the seat billable, to make them billable. So we are trying to address that. And yeah, that's a journey been for us in terms of me.
Yeah.
And Social.HR was born with that thought
Yes.
of helping organizations to retain their talent.
Yes. No, thanks a lot, Adarsh, for sharing that. And I think from our very first conversation, you have been saying this is a very key topic that you wanted to discuss, and very valid, employee attrition, right? I'm sure, the entire point, and I was just going through a website the other day and, saw the kind of things that you guys are doing, like, data driven insights. So Jagat, over to you, just what would you, as a follow up, want to know from Adarsh? He just shared about what was his inspiration behind doing this, and what Social HR does. But over to you, Jagat.
I hope I'm audible. Everything good?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
yes,
great. Thanks. Sometimes, it's like you have your problems with your own platform. It doesn't understand.
Yeah,
Uh,
happens.
so
yeah,
yeah,
To
totally.
keep it light, sometimes when you go for a demo.
Absolutely. No, I think Vidphone is kind of, Jagat, you've been at me enough and get out of here. So
yeah,
anyway, no, super awesome. I mean, as I said, look, I think everyone here in Bangalore who's building, startups, most of them from, and people especially who have kind of come with, I'm not necessarily talking of the 25-year-olds who are in here. I'm talking of people who have seen the ecosystem for a while and,
yeah,
done their time, as I would say, in
Grinding.
companies like others, right? So I think there is certain maturity that's there in building the products. So I'm really excited to hear what he has. Of course, it's a topic very close to my heart. I do believe, like, I keep telling at office also, like, the word company literally is the company of people that you're with, right? So it's really all about the people. And yeah, it's a great problem statement. Let's, like, over to you, others. It's all about you. So I'm happy to hear and learn. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you want to take this? Like let's keep it open. I think that
yes,
would be a very good way to
yes,
go it. So
Sure.
if you can
So
put
maybe
it.
initially, right? So, probably I should, feel free to,
yes,
your
certainly.
questions anytime. But just as a founder to founder. So again, you said that it affects the bottom line for companies, top line, bottom line, end of the day. Uh, what, one or two instances in your life where, it really hit you that this is actually, there's a validation that, you yourself was the customer for that, or the, solving your own problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So as I told you, like, I've been in the forefront of the HR space, that is recruitment. You know, while doing that recruitment, I keep interacting with a lot of. I used to interact with a lot of candidates on a daily basis, and there was a few key points that they used to share, which they don't share with the companies, or where they're leaving, where they're exiting or where they're joining. So they keep interacting with the third party, right? We are a third party. We are trying to facilitate the recruitment process for them, right? So there's a lot of insights that we were capturing, talking to these candidates on a daily basis, and we figured out that there is, when you look at any employee, right? What is that? One thing that they're very passionate about or very loyal to. So, people may say they're loyal to a company, they're loyal to a manager. No, they are not loyal to anybody. They're loyal to their career, how they are going to grow within the organization or outside the organization. They don't care, but then they are very passionate about their career. How as an organization can help them to realize this dream or realize their career progression is something which we were pondering upon when we were talking to these candidates. Now everybody says, better career growth. I'm looking for better career growth. Why do you want to leave this company? Looking for a better career growth. What is that better career growth? When we started trying to answer this question, we kind of figured out, like, hey, there is a problem, there is needs to be addressed. So that is where we kind of the Eureka moment happened for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
No, Jagat, nothing. I was just
Okay.
saying.
All right. No, I think that's really exciting. So if you look at India, right, so
Yeah.
where we are now and why HR is something that's I'm an engineer. I think most people would know that by now. I'm not the greatest guy at HR, though I believe that leadership is a little different, right? We create great managers in India, but do we create like great leaders? Like, what's your thoughts?
See, if you look at the landscape, everybody is a leader in their own space, but then needs to be harnessed, nourished, and empowered, right? How do you make a great leader, right? So if you look back to history, we've been as a country, we've been in a
Flux.
we feel that, yeah.
In a flux.
So
Yeah.
in the flux, yeah. So we kind of follow orders. That's a kind of
Yeah.
mindset. But then the landscape has changed today.
Yeah.
I see lot of changes with the young generation, the way they think, the way they go about. We call ourselves also young generation, though.
Of course.
uh, yeah. So the way we think, way we look at the problems as opportunities, yeah, it is changing. And yeah, entrepreneurship is there. Leaders are, managers are becoming leaders, leaders are becoming entrepreneurs. Yeah, the landscape has changed in the last 3-4 years. It's been a I'm sure when we meet in this networking events and all these things, we see that, right?
Definitely. Yeah. That's something that even I've seen, kind of evolve over the past 15 years, like just going to startup events. Sorry.
Yeah.
A lot of startup events, heading to them now, we do see a lot more maturity, I would say, in many
Absolutely.
places, right? So they're solving slightly more advanced problems. Why I asked that question on leadership and managers, so it always, except the Indian cricket team, right, which I think of late has become a good team unit. And I think about this very deeply. Like, why is it that in America, all of our products, most of our products are from the US, the whole culture of innovation technology, the computer science as we know it today, evolved from America. And they've been able to create these companies, and they emphasize a lot on teamwork, right? When I look at, and and I'm an Indian, I'm a very proud Indian, but one of the things that makes me sad is that I see that there is like, we don't have that spirit of teamwork the way it should be, you know. I've actually noticed that, and I feel like it's there, and that's really what companies are about, right? So when I talk of leadership, self leadership, if you're a consultant or you're a doctor, you don't need to necessarily work with a team, and you just do your consulting with the patient, and you're done, right? But when you're doing companies, especially like our startups or organizations, I think that the ability to work with each other is very important. How to collaborate. Somehow I feel like somewhere we have to improve a lot there, right? So that's why I asked that question. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I concur with your thought process. Again, the history has a lot of impact on the thought process that we
Yeah,
possess, and the evolution is definitely happening. And there are different kinds of roles that people play in the ecosystem. There are
right.
individual contributors, there are teamwork, team people, there are leaders, there are managers, etc., etc. Everybody has to play their own kind of set of roles when it comes to what is to be delivered at the end of the day. Now, you did mention about a doctor, right? Even a doctor has to collaborate with nurse, the other staff within the hospital, the front desk, etc., etc. There is a lot of collaboration that needs to be done. He cannot just consult to a patient. Now there is
No, the
somebody
independent,
trying
the
to.
independent, clinics I'm talking about,
Uh,
or maybe a chartered accountant who, is just with you. So that's what I meant. Self-employed, rather, self-employed
yeah,
professionals.
yeah. Again, they are dependent on different other aspects also. There are tools that they are dependent on. There are platforms that they are dependent on. There is some kind of dependency, that
Yeah,
collaboration that has happened. Anyways,
yeah,
coming back to the people, right? How people are collaborating today and trying to achieve what. And you did mention that previously all the products that we consume today have been coming from the West. But then again, I'm very optimistic and very bullish about India.
of course.
And
I,
I'm sure we are building for the world. And
we are now, no doubt.
yeah, yeah, we
Absolutely.
are
So
building for the
that's
world.
why
Yeah.
all of us also are building here, totally. Maybe one
Absolutely.
more question from me before, a couple of
Yeah.
questions from Aishri, because I think
Yeah,
what we want to also bring in, we've been doing a lot of series with, around women, moms
yeah,
on the mom series, and other series where, and I think in India one of the best things is that, unlike, let's say, many countries, we actually have, especially in the tech and the services sector, we have a lot of equality. I would say in the there's no real gender gap. The way, I mean, they could still be in certain pockets. I want to be as politically correct as I can, but in certain areas there could be. But overall, I would say that in the services side, it's fairly good. Okay, so past this year we have seen heavy amount of layoffs, right, from all kinds of companies, right? Typically, and I'm saying mainly the tech sector rather. Uh, how's that? We have this. I was speaking to one of the founders today at the NASCOM warehouse, where they're getting so many resumes from one particular company, which has laid off a lot of people, and they're seeing if it's the right fit for them, because they've done some mistakes there, and whether they have the character to join this. So, few points, from your side on this. Must be an exciting year for you in terms of this whole layoffs, because yeah, there's something happening there, and that's
Yeah.
why I asked that from an HR perspective. Over to you. Yeah,
So, this is my personal opinion about the layoffs and all. What we are seeing are, well-funded, heavily funded, super boosted companies who have acquired a lot of companies. What has happened is there are, repetitive roles, repetitive skill sets that are, there within the organization. You know, it would take about any acquisition after merger and acquisition happens. There's a merger, and then there is integrations of both the companies happen, and then there is a lot of talent that is kept, and then they kind of integrate those resources also within their framework, right? So that's when the HR teams would have kind of figured out that a lot of repetitive skill sets. Why do you need five resources to do one job, right? So they kind of figured out that there is so many redundancy within the roles. And probably I feel that that might be one of the that would have also been one of the factor to take these decisions again. And then again, the ecosystem is a little volatile in terms of companies to be profitable, show profitability to the investors who have invested, so that so there's a best way to look
level
at
it out.
repetitive roles, lay them off, so you can instantly boost your profit line.
Correct. Absolutely. Aishri, any questions from you? Couple of them before I get back.
Yes. Yes. Adarsh, thanks for sharing those with us and your views on those. I just wanted to know about the little challenges, Adarsh, that you see in this industry. Generally, also, and maybe, while you are trying to, provide your solution, what are the kind of challenges you see there, people adapting to it, or just generally in the ecosystem?
Okay.
Something about that from your
So,
end.
employee retention is what the space that we typically work, and we work with companies, very in a very strategic way, right? We help them to understand how important the retaining talent is, and how to go about it and all. So typically, when we look at the small and mid-sized companies, uh, they currently don't have any structure, or they have structure, but then everything is on an Excel sheets, and in a very they're still trying to build on top of those thought process that they have, and they kind of fuse those things in an unformatted structure and all this. So there is a lot of gap there, and trying to help them to automate this process is very it's a challenge for them to
Challenge.
have a
Yeah.
change from the
Process.
current structure that they have to a structured, a processed approach towards what they're doing and how they're doing, and they know
Yes.
that there is a challenge now.
Yeah.
It needs to be addressed. How it needs to be addressed. Now that is
Yes.
where they are in a dilemma. How do we address this challenge, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, uh, that's
And
that's
that and that's where you come in. So
yeah, that's where
Yes.
that's where we come in to help them address uh,
Yes. At
the
least start.
yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks, Adarsh, and very valid points there. So, Jagat, before I give it again to you, I would like to ask Adarsh, because we have been talking about employee attrition, and Adarsh has been saying so. A few key tips, Adarsh, you feel you would want to tell founders today, leaders today, that they can adapt, in their organizations to be able to approach this better,
Yeah.
because like we were talking, right, it's not just monetary, but it's a lot of resources, right, that gets wasted in this entire process. So a few tips from your end, others, or the outlook companies should start having to make this lesser.
Yeah. So typically, I would like to ask Jagat and you a question, like when anybody any employee tries to put down the paper, they want to move on, what typically what you have seen in your experience, like what happens, if you could.
Aishri, you want to take that just for a maybe you want to try first and then I can go?
Yes, yeah. So I feel a lot of times, and I don't know, I mean, the people I have dealt with personally, and, for them, I feel one thing, like you were saying, I think sometimes they get bored of what they are doing. They want some change, and then they call it, they're not being able to define exactly why, but they want to change, or maybe so I have seen another thing. Suppose they are working in a startup. They find their role very exciting. I mean, the work very exciting, and then suppose suddenly they get an offer from another a corporate. Suppose which is more which is a bigger ecosystem, which is a bigger setup. I have seen that change. I think they find more security there. So security is one thing I have seen, and the next would be the money. So that is another, the financial part, bit is what I have come across people where, I mean, they, when they feel that the financially they are not being able to for whatever reason, they try to also shift.
Yeah.
So yeah, so these would be my things that I have seen mostly. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jagat. Oh.
sure. No, I think Adarsh asked, I think, what happens after they quit? Was that the question, Adarsh?
No,
No,
no.
I
Why
think
do
when,
they? I mean, when they,
so why do
try
they
to put down the papers and they want to move on or move out of the
what
organization. So, you would have
what are the
probably
reasons?
interacted with, people who are moving on, probably asked few questions or try to
Yeah.
retain them or etc. If you had done any of
Yeah.
those, what's your
So
thought, like
right,
Yeah.
sure, okay. So over 13 years, I've had quite a few employees, and there have been, I would say, in the earlier days of the company, the reasons may be very different from from the much later days, and but mostly, I mean, this is what I think is that, like the quote, right? People generally is about the leadership many times, and many times it's also actually about the curiosity of the younger people. I think that I've seen a lot. I used to hire very young people, and sometimes and very early days, like we didn't have the kind of consistency or understanding like we do now. So I think they themselves want to explore, and the kind of skills that they learned at our place. I'm talking about things like Django and all, in 2010, 11, 12. These are very sought after skills back then. And today, these are the guys who are CTOs of companies. So many times what they learn here, yes, as a startup, you have certain limitation in what we may pay them, in a salary basis. So definitely that's there, right? So the grass is greener on the other side, and sometimes it does happen. This is what I've seen, but I think, yeah, I mean, in terms of an HR perspective, would love to hear a lot more from
yeah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
but I would just like to add here, before we had, like what Jagat said, I think, I have, but one thing I feel that makes them stay, or, I mean, try a little longer for trying in to make it work, is also the leadership, like Jagat said, if that connect is
absolutely,
there from the beginning with the leader or the manager they are working with.
yeah,
Because then I think other things still get, I mean, they do put them at the back burner if they see that connect this thing
yeah,
sometimes. So
you're right.
that has also been the scenario.
Absolutely, absolutely, you're right. Now, when I'm interacting with startups with 30, 40 employees, they say we don't have much of attrition in our company. The core of it is they know they're mapped one to one. The founders are
right.
interacting with their employees on a daily basis. There is a constant one to one interaction that is happening. Now let's take this example. Now let's shift. Now there is the company has scaled. Now there are 200 employees. Is
Right.
it possible for founder to have a one to one with the each and every employee? No, it is not possible. He can only interact with 10 or 15 people on a daily basis, where his vision can be percolated down to the last 199th employee who's there, or 200th employee who's there in the company, right? So now, how do you manage this? How do you get that vision, leader's vision down there, right? One. And second thing is, when we talk about employees with the organization, they're more they're there to work. They they join the organization to create an impact. They feel that there is a scope for them to learn, improve, and progress their career. With that thought, they have joined the organization. Now, if they feel that their career is not moving up, or it's not going as per what they feel, then there is a constant thought in their head that yes, I need to move on. Now, whether it might be a large corporate giving them an offer, or another startup giving them an offer, they would definitely move to any offer that comes their way, right?
Yeah.
Because they feel that their growth is stagnant. Now that is a challenge that most startups also face. Because to scale, till we scale up to certain extent, will not be able to give that career vision to most of our employees, that hey, this is how you can grow up the ladder till we
Yeah.
reach certain stage. That is where startups have challenge with people. And large organization, mid-size and large organization, again, what happens is there is a very generic job description goes out,
Right.
uh, hiring for developer.
Hmm.
Now a developer is hired, is put into testing.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to get to that. Yes.
Yeah, is deployed to testing. Now, as a developer, when I say, okay, this is a good place to start for me. I could understand the product or the services that we've been done. Now, after few months, I feel, hey, I was hired to be a developer. Now what
Exactly.
I'm doing, fixing. Now, this is something which I don't want.
Yes.
There is a constant thought in his head that, hey, I want to move on. This is not what I want. His
Yes.
aspirations are not met,
Matching.
as
Correct.
his there is a skill
Disconnect.
mismatch, disconnect with
Yeah.
his role and what he
Yeah.
wants to do.
And even what was promised. So, wonderful that you brought up that exact point,
Yeah,
Adarsh. My second CTO, and I'm talking about 2012 probably. Uh, I literally, I mean, my CTO who was then my CTO, he wanted someone with him, right? So because we were building pretty advanced things back then also. Uh, he said, I know this friend of mine, and let's meet him. So I met him at Barista, in Koramangala, the JNC, and I just met him for coffee. And I remember him; he was with completely long hair, and then he was at Mu Sigma back then, and he was doing the same. They hired him as a developer, and they put him into testing.
yeah,
And the only thing we asked him is like, do you know Python? Do you know Django? Stuff like this. He said no. I said, then what do you want to do? He said, I want to build products. I said, you're hired. Let's go. So it's as simple as that. Like literally, we hired him like in 5 minutes on the coffee table. So that's happening a lot, I think, and that's what I mean by the leadership and the culture, right? It's
Yeah.
like people are just blatantly making false offers
yeah,
sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just saying that you come in for this, and then the moment you hit the floor, yeah, you see that you're doing, like you said, they're fixing. So that's integrity, and I think that should change in the system, right? That's when I think there is more trust also that's built. Otherwise,
yeah.
both ways, right?
That's
from
yeah,
from the
absolutely,
employer or the founder to the employees, and from the employees back to the founder. Today,
absolutely.
either
It's a
ways, it
two-way traffic.
seems it seems replaceable either ways, right? So
Yes,
yeah, everyone feels like I can work anywhere, or the other guy says I can get anyone to do the job.
anyone
So
will.
Yeah.
that's kind of strange. Yes, it's a great point you mentioned. But one more point that you mentioned, and it just hit me, Ayushri, when he was saying that, video mail, Vmail is a great way for CEOs to reach out to their 10,000 strong team. So we have video
Yes.
messaging, and I think that's something that just came about while you were talking.
Exactly.
It is a challenge. How does a CEO address the 200th or
Yes.
10,000th employee? But
Yes.
yes, with what we call asynchronous video, that's going to happen a lot more. I feel like, every
Yes.
day or every second day, you would find like a message from the CEO. Imagine your CEO sending
Yes.
you the good morning wishes on WhatsApp.
Yes.
People would love that company. They might
Absolutely.
get irritated of him soon, but they would tell you, don't do that. But it would be a good
Yeah.
connect. Yeah.
Once in a while, yeah, makes a
Once in a
lot of
while.
difference.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot
Yes,
of
no, I
difference.
think the video mail concept also, Jagat, that you said, because seeing the CEO, that video connect, it just helps. I mean, I'm not even talking about the, like Adarsh was saying, there may be 10 to 15 people he interacts daily, but then
Yeah.
those people would be motivated more because they work more closely. But the other, as you go down the ladder, there are so many employees who make a difference, at different levels. So I mean, does them it's a ripple effect, like, right, of his thoughts, of his vision, the company, the connect. So I think that's a very key point. Others, one more thing I was just thinking, and I wanted your thoughts on it. So
Yeah,
we know the world, everything was physical
yeah,
pre-COVID, and then we saw it all going remote, and now we are in a hybrid kind of a work era, I would say, where some companies are still remote, and but others, most are in a hybrid space. So what has been your learnings, Adarsh, in this thing? What have you seen, hiring processes, have they changed? What are your thoughts across these? And we see that a lot of empathy, we have been discussing in some of our shows that now, organizations as a whole need to bring in a lot of empathy also, as a this thing, when they are hiring, or when they are making their processes after the entire COVID thing. Because I think before, people could not even imagine, a lot of organizations could not even imagine going hybrid or remote. But COVID made them, see that work can be done that. So what are your thoughts, Adarsh, and what are the changes you have seen in your industry across this
Uh,
transformation?
what one thing has happened with COVID is it has changed the landscape of recruitment has changed completely.
Yeah.
It is no longer physical; it's more of digital and tech-driven
Yes.
recruitment processes. It's no longer in-person one-on-one discussions. It's more on video discussions with a collaborative panel together doing discussion or interviewing the candidates. Three people, or four people, interviewing candidate. Saves a lot of time. Yeah, and then the lengthy process of 7 rounds of interview, 4 days. All those days are gone.
Right.
Now people don't have time. Traveling in Bangalore is a hassle. You know, if you
Yes.
ask any candidate to go to Whitefield, he would never turn up for an interview, for sure. So
Unless the pay
that
is
skill has,
unless the pay is really really good.
even if the pay is good, he doesn't want to go because as
Pollution
long
and
as they're okay with work from home, he's happy to go for once. But
absolutely.
yeah, and again now the changes are happening again. There is pros and cons to this hybrid, work
Yes.
environment that is there in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
industry that is there. So completely, online, virtual has its one in terms of people don't get connected. you know
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Employees don't feel that, hey, I am working for a particular company and this is my company.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
also what it does is it will make you a cook manduk, like you're in a frog in a pond.
Yes.
Your learnings happens at a cafeteria, short discussions with your peers on the aisle. So there are a lot of
Exactly.
learning that happens at these places. You might have got stuck on something, while working. A friend who is walking by, hey, do you know this? How do I do this? Your problem is solved. Now, working virtually, you'll have to wait to fix a calendar and then have a call with him and try to understand that. By the time you understand, there is another problem that is already cropped in. So the learning is slower and the turnaround time to deliver is also faster
More. Yeah.
and more. And also the data and surveys show that productivity has come down because
Absolutely.
of this
Yeah.
virtual concept. And most of the companies are now trying to
Combined.
bring their workforce back into their offices, you know
Yeah.
and again, no, the when we were all hit by COVID, the first wave, productivity, raise off the charts. People were very happy, like, all my employees are working, like, 12 hours a day, because they didn't have anything to do in their life other than working.
Yeah.
Right? You can't go
That's a
out, you
good.
can't meet
That's a good way
friends,
to put it. Yeah.
can't go out, you can't meet friends, you can't party, you can't do
Yeah.
anything. You
Yeah.
just had
Yeah.
one thing to do is work. People worked. Now, as and when things slowly started, becoming better and things opened up, now people have a lot of avenues. If you're at home, you know it's a different world
Yeah.
altogether that they are in right now. So these things, I think, the leaders have realized that it's time that we bring the workforce back onto the into their offices, so that
Yeah.
it becomes. And also this, during this time, the it also impacted a lot of salary structuring also.
Yeah.
Because of the savings
So
and real estate and all that.
yeah, resource. No, there were a lot of there was so much of demand, but supply was very less. And that there was a lot of disparity between the salary structuring, what you used to get before, what used to be offered before, to what
Yeah.
now again it's slowly kind of settling down, and it's kind of there is some sanity that has been bought in, and all thanks to all these layoffs and all these things, has been an impact on this as well. So to look at a positive side, it's kind of corrected the market, in terms of salary structuring, and
Absolutely.
that's my point of view on this.
Yeah. No, thanks, Adarsh. Jagat, your thoughts on this? Obviously, Adarsh shared, the pros and cons of both. And I think we see, like, obviously, offices are, calling people back, but still, I think the continuation would be a hybrid thing more. And what are your thoughts on this, Jagat? And how do you think video, can play? We had seen a surge in video, of course. I'm just not talking about video where we are doing conferences or meetings, but like you just shared an example on how video mail, suppose something like that also can be used. So what are your thoughts on the, because I think it would be hybrid going forward for some time, which works for both, I think, the office and the employees. I mean, that is the way to go forward. So what your thoughts, Jagat?
No, great question and long answer, but I'll try and keep it a short because I work a lot on this. Uh, and Aishri knows a lot of my answers because we talk about it in the office.
Yeah.
Here's my thesis on this, right? So, yes, like a lot of other companies in the video space, a lot of, we saw a huge surge, like 600-7% growth in the consumption during, immediately after the pandemic. And, but like you said, I've never believed in this calendar meeting stuff. So suppose you want to talk to someone on the phone, you just call them. And why is that different in video? And that's something that we have always tried to address, which is why, like, if you look at our philosophy and our architecture of the platform, we have vidphone.me/Jagat or vidphone.me/Aishri. I can directly video call them with an address. So, it all comes down to serendipity versus scheduled. Okay. And like Adarsh was saying, we've actually built out some solutions, like one of them being the virtual HQ, which is our online, virtual office, where
Yeah.
you can have, and I just want to share a small note on that because during the pandemic, there was a law firm in Chennai, about 30 people. We onboarded one of them, from that firm. You won't believe that within a month, there were 25 people from that firm. Every day at 9 o'clock, they will check into the virtual office. At around before lunch, they will, all of them huddle there. And then when they're exiting the day, end of the day, they will all again meet and they will go. So that was something that we solved, with that. Vidphone.me/Jagat, the structure itself is to encourage this is unscheduled calls, unscheduled conversations. And I think these are, important. Video is not complete, which is why we are also, in this space. If we believe that it was solved, I wouldn't be continuing doing Vidphone. But I think, like you said, there are a lot of unsolved areas. Asynchronous video, again,
Yeah.
it's like email, right? So I can send you an email and you can take your time, sleep over it and reply in the morning. But in video, we have to be online at the same time. And that means that the people who are introverts in the office, the people who take their time and want to respond, they are not given any real estate space, in a call, right? So
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
serious issues. And in our team itself, I would say, our co-founder Akhil, who's brilliant, he is probably someone who takes more time. He would want to probably come back. So a lot of I might be someone who wants to react spontaneously on it. So, but sometimes his views are more important than mine. So these things we have to accommodate if you want to create a proper hybrid model, right? Coming to the workers, I think the workers and the leaders, or whatever we may call them. I have a neighbor and a very close friend of mine who's at one of the top tech companies globally, and at his level and the work that he does, I think remote works very, very well. Because there is a certain structure in the organization. The nature of work requires your expertise. It does not really require you coordinating activities. So this kind of work, I think there will be, it's a great thing for them, right? But for startups where a lot of the conversations happen serendipitously, and we are coming up with ideas, and every time I meet somebody, we are talking something. This kind of spontaneity, where it's needed, where there is a kind of lack of complete structure, and where the
Yeah.
work requires coordination, like leadership roles and stuff like that, definitely you need, a physical space. I don't think, and
Yeah.
I never recommend Vidphone, even if they want to do that. I said, don't take the product. So that's my
Yeah.
quick note on that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks, Jagat. And like you said, I think, it has to be the best of both worlds. And that's why we are also doing, in fact, something, I think it's so powerful because, before, when you go off, suppose, you are not available because you cannot be physically available, you are not available. You have to be off work. But now that's a very strong point that wherever you are, you can, be available, even if it's your choice, obviously, even if it's, even if you have to be available for an hour, that gives
Yeah.
you this thing that you can like choose, how you work. So I think that's a very big plus point.
Again,
You can be
absolutely.
anywhere in the world
I,
and work.
I probably
And I keep
miss,
telling you that, right? I always keep telling you that. I've always found this a plus. Like, you never have
it
to
is.
completely disconnect from work, I feel.
I think, that's a great point. I didn't touch on that. And, you know, I must say that for people who are responsible,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
great boon.
yeah.
That's all
That's
I
what,
would
yeah.
say, because that's
Yes,
the whole problem,
yes,
unfortunately. So,
yes,
and another thing that I see is like, especially to include the women and the mothers, etc.,
yes,
who for whom physical travel,
yeah,
especially in a place like Bangalore, is ridiculous.
yeah,
I think, but
yeah,
they have a lot of skills lying around and they're, it's just at home. So these areas, I
yes,
think definitely it's a godsend. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I I agree with your point. Yeah, hybrid is going to be there, in some pockets, at
yeah,
least for few years, I believe,
yeah.
and to the point that the video, email, async
Yes,
videos, it's something which makes more personalized for
yes,
the leaders to reach out their team, and the team to reach out to the leaders, etc., to and fro. It's a good way. I feel that there is that gap,
yeah,
know
yes,
yeah, and it's
It
just
is, no doubt. I think we are following for so long until COVID hit us. I remember back in 2004, 5, 6, I would say around when I was in college, etc. My dream was to work from a beach. It still is. It's always to work from a beach. I don't want to get out of the beach. I'm on the beach working and I'm out, and that's how I want life to be. But, what I've really seen is that we have been stuck to industrial thinking for a long, long time, going to this mine, right? You're going to the coal mine in the morning and you're coming
yeah.
back. So that I think that's an absurd kind of thought process. And the one of the ways that I see that happening, when we were looking at this hybrid office ecosystem is it's not so much coming to the office, it's the commute, you know.
Yeah.
And so
yes, yeah,
and that's I would say that an office is very important because it is the place for company culture. Otherwise everything looks like this. Every office looks like the screen, and I mean, or very different with the other tools that you may use, pretty much the same. So you really
yeah,
cannot imbibe a sense of culture, a sense of feeling, of belonging on these things. So one thing would be these distributed offices that I see instead of having a monolithic, huge building. You would have,
yes,
pockets around where, if Aishri is in one part of
yes,
Bangalore, it's close to her, and for me it's close. And maybe
yeah,
periodically you could all sync up together. But again, the
yes.
nodes then have to sync up. So you got to find some place to do that. So I think it's got to evolve something like that, probably.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a very valid point, Jagat. I have heard a lot of, in fact, during my work at CWE too, before I used to hear a lot of this concept, because even the government, where when they would, suppose incubate, they would start an incubation program and they would build these big facilities and they would not see any turn ups, in places like Mysore, because people just don't want to go to the, but
Right.
instead people would prefer, if there are these small nooks or this thing where they can maybe meet or I mean whenever they want they can use instead of like having to spend on a bigger facility. So very valid. Others, Jagat raised a point, and I know we have overshot the time, but a very great discussion.
No,
So
no,
I
that's
just like
fine.
to end, if I may, Jagat, and please feel free to add you if you have anything. But my last question to you would be, Adarsh. Jagat said, being responsible is very key here.
Yeah.
When we say, so because you are into, you guys help people hire, make the processes better. So how have you seen, how like what are the like how can companies look for this trait? Nowadays we anyway see, if people have that leadership quality, if they can really independently work, be responsible, it just goes a long way. So what are your thoughts on this, Adarsh? What are some things that you'd like
So
to share?
just to correct you there, we not into recruitment. We don't
Okay.
do the
Yeah,
recruitment, but
yeah.
we help organizations to retain their talent,
Yes,
retain
yes,
their
sorry.
employees.
That's
Yeah.
what I meant.
So
Like, the
let me
talent
bring,
gap.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got your point. Just to make the perspective right.
No, certainly. Yeah.
So as an employee, like through our platform, what we try to help organization is, so as a platform, we have a we do audits. So we start the journey of any customer by doing audits. Like, what is now, if you have to get treated, you need to know for what you are getting treated. You need to know what is the root cause of it. Now,
Diagnosis. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need to do and then through our audit we will be able to help the organizations to identify what is the risk that they are looking at in the next 1 or 2 quarters. So our predictive analytic platform audits will help that organizations to identify that. Now once we identify, what do we do next? We need to address that. We need to try to you know uh, give some kind of medicines. Now what is there in the market, or what most of them are trying to do is do all these engagements and other things. It's good, I don't say it's not. No, but then
Yeah.
core of it is needs to be addressed through their employees' career. Now, that is where our platform, Social.HR, comes into play, because we are a skill and competency based platform. So we keep that as the core. That is
Yeah.
very, very important. Yesterday, I was, a couple of days back, I was in a conference where we were talking about this. There were HR leaders from different organizations talking about this. There was one gentleman who said, you're trying to engage your employees. Aren't they engaged with their work? That's the question. They are engaged with their work. How more you want to engage them with
Yeah.
other things. Now, if you are trying to engage with other things, then who's going to do the work? Now, that is where, there's a question, right? To what
Yeah.
extent you're going to engage your employees on, right? Already they're engaged. Now how do you build upon that? That is where our platform or our
Comes into place.
idea and thoughts revolved around. And then also that's what we do. So based on their skills and competency, we benchmark them and try to tell them that, hey, you are here, and for you to move up the ladder to go to the next role, you need to do this 5 things. If you're doing this, these are the skills that you need to have. And currently you are at, let's say, 40% with the competency metrics or competency of beginner. Then you have, these are the things that you need to do. Let's come back and revisit it and see, next 8 months or uh, you know 12 months, how have you improved. Now whether you have moved up the ladder in terms of skills. So why skills? Now that might be a question. Why do you have to work on skills? Now it's a very direct correlation between skills and the productivity what you do. Now you are improving your skills, you are definitely improving your productivity,
Productivity.
because you are implementing those learnings onto the work what you are doing, because you are not learning something else, you are learning what the work you are doing, and you're definitely implementing that. Now who's going to validate that? Now that's where a platform brings in the manager also, where he is going to validate that based on the skills that he's using on a daily
Yeah.
basis. Now
Yes.
we kind of negate the biasness that the organizations have in terms of this feedback and etc., where
Yeah.
we kind of structure it based on skills. Now, I'm sure me and all of us might have seen and worked with different companies. Predominantly, the feedback for appraisals and all happens at the end of the at the appraisal period, and
Yeah.
then those 12 months of work, what is happening is, if you have a bad 2 months, your appraisal is going down, and
Right.
you're
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
betrayed by the organization, because you know that you have worked for last 12 months, but the person
Yeah.
who's appraising you would only know last 2 months.
Too
If
much.
the if it's the same manager, then probably you can have that conversation. But if it's a different manager who's come in, he would not know
Yeah.
that what you have done last 8 months. Now he's
Yeah.
going to evaluate you for the last 2 months and give you a 2.5 or 3 rating for out
Yeah.
of 5. Now you feel that you're betrayed. Now that is where
Yeah.
this kind of a platform, Social.HR, as a platform, will try to negate this aspects where organizations and the managers and everybody are very clear about, it's a very transparent structure where those skills are validated. There's a definitive career path that is defined for each individual employees. And another good part is, when I join an organization, I don't know, I know currently I know what my role is. Over a period of 6 months, I kind of get lost. Now that is where,
Yes.
bringing in the transparency from an organization perspective also becomes very important. Now these are your skills, this is your growth trajectory. You can go, you are an associate, you can be a senior associate. To be a senior associate, these are the set of things that you need to do, these are the set of skill sets you need to have, this is the competency level. uh, this is how an employee sees what is it for the organization. No, okay, it's okay. I mean, people come, they learn, they do their work. That's but then every organization has a certain skill metrics that they need to they want to follow. Okay, my organization should have a 85% skill metrics. Are they reaching that 85%? Now, if they are reaching that 85%, then definitely they are delivering it on time with quality.
Yeah.
Now that also impacts the business that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, and the USP of our product is competency framework, right? So we kind of help organizations to understand what is the competency distribution across their, from an org perspective. If you look at what is the
Understand.
competency
Yeah.
distribution within the organization. Now, when you drill it down, so you see there are two teams. One is high performing team, and there is a average performing team. Now, what is the competency structure within those teams?
Right. How
What
can
is
you
working
rejig that?
for an high performing team and what is not working for an average performing team? Now,
Yeah.
what as an organization, what you can do? You can plug and play around with it. Put in the right kind of resources. It is not that, when I say competency is like, beginner, intermediate, and expert. It is not that a 2 year experienced guy is beginner. A 2 year experienced guy, for his experience, can be an expert for that
Yes.
particular, you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
so how he is able to add value to your organization, you'll be able to visualize that. So that is where the platform helps organizations to understand. And
Yes.
our attrition analytics, again, will help them to understand, quarter wise, how many people have gone out, and for what reasons they have gone out, and so on and so forth. They can work on it. The predominantly most of the, today, when you look at attrition, we actually talked about this. But then the attrition is happening. There are few main reasons: toxic work environment,
Right.
toxic leaders, then no definitive career progression. So 58% of people or employees feel because of toxic work environment. Almost 50 plus percentage of people feel that it is because of toxic managers.
Yes.
48% of people feel that there is no career growth within the
Progression.
organization. And money is only 20% of people only think that
Yeah.
the salary, you know so the problem is else, but we are trying to solve something else. you know so that is where our platform comes in. Now again, as a platform, we kind of don't we kind of can collaborate with any kind of platforms. We can collaborate with HR because we are not in competition with them, we complement them.
Yeah.
Compliment.
We
Yeah.
collaborate with
Yes.
assessment platforms, we collaborate with rewards and recognition platforms. So we collaborate with platform like yours, where
Yeah.
you can add some kind of value to your clients, or so we are not in any head-on collision with any of the platforms which are there in this space. We can collaborate with recruitment agencies, we can collaborate with recruitment platforms. So there's a lot of collaboration that we can look at, and currently we are looking at them as well. Trying to
Yeah.
collaborate with different. So collaboration is again another
The yes.
thing that as a startup founders we should look at. collaborating with different platforms, which helps to promote each other basically at the end of the
Yes,
day.
certainly. Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks, Adarsh. And collaboration is the key way to go forward. And I think we as a company also, that's our outlook
So
towards,
next week you can hear our call then, Others on collaboration.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes,
You know what we do?
yes,
Yeah, I'm open.
yes.
We
Let's
can
connect and we
definitely
can,
look at.
yes,
Always, always.
definitely.
Definitely, we can
Yes.
look at some kind of
Jagat, so
collaboration.
that's all from my end, and thank you, Adarsh, for sharing so beautifully. Your journey, obviously, behind social HR, the inspiration, and everything else. That you have. I think very key points and very key takeaways from this session. Jagat, your closing points, if anything, and then we can close. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of notes. Just because as I was hearing Adarsh, I realized how profound his work is. To be honest, because
Yeah.
when you look at ultimately, I think long-term companies are built with long-term employees. Otherwise, you cannot have that beginning culture until whatever might be that stage. So, I think what you're doing is very profound, and it's a very. I realize the correction you made to Ayushri, which I think is very important one, where it's not about hiring or acquisition; it's more about the retention and using that knowledge within the company. So that's really amazing that you found that niche. I hope that the Indian businesses understand the long-term vision, which is difficult. I am aware. Slowly, as you said, they are doing that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I hope they understand the value because getting new employee and training them and et cetera, is a lot not only a lot more expensive. It's going to reward you a lot lesser than people who
yeah,
know what you do for a long time. So
yeah,
it's
Yeah.
wonderful work that you're doing.
yeah,
From our side, all I want to say is that the reason I started the company back then, 2010, and I say this is because if I did have a boss who was like me, probably who I liked, I would probably not have started the company. We want to create that alternative corporate culture here, where it's a new corporate culture where it's not about managing people, because I don't think smart people should be managed. I think that's the way we look at it, and these are lessons that you learn over time. That's why the kind
yeah,
of people that we hire today, they should be forcing me to be in the company as opposed to the other way around. I wanted to be, and of course, the employers or so-called employers or the founders also, they need to be, I would say, generous, in terms of a lot of things. So I think it's both ways. People should be giving. We have had a culture far too much, of people taking from either side, right? The boss
Yeah.
wants to take everything from the employees. Employee wants to take everything from the boss. This is not the way growth happens. Growth
yeah,
happens when both of us are able to offer. So
yeah.
that's the way I see it. And social HR, I think, fantastic journey, and
Yes.
I want to wish you like super awesome success. Okay,
Thank you so much.
that's about it. Other last notes on from you before
Yes.
we
Yes.
sign off. Yeah,
Before we
Yeah.
close, yes.
So, what I would want to tell everybody, on the organizations also is, uh, have that conversation with your employees while they're still with you. Talk to them about their career. Help them to scale up. Helping them scale up is helping yourself to scale up. Organization definitely scales up when your employees scale up. So have that conversation today, career
Yeah.
conversation with your employees, and understand, address their aspirations, and align it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
super.
thank you so much, Jagat and Ayushri. It's been a pleasure talking to you both, and presenting my point of view. Uh,
Yes.
uh, it's an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
No,
Likewise.
pleasure is all ours, Adarsh, and thank you so much, for sharing your story here. And with that, I would like to end this session. And just for you and all our viewers, Adarsh, the link, the recording is available on the same link. So please
Sure.
feel free to share across. We would also be sending out some clips across all our social medias, of this session with some key takeaways. So
Yes.
please do share it so that this discussion can reach a lot more people, and a lot more
Absolutely.
people can benefit from
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead. We are on a Friday evening.
Yeah.
So wishing everyone a great weekend. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who
Thank
has
you.
joined
Thank
us
you.
live today.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye.
Aishri.
Bye.
Thanks, Adarsh. Bye bye.
Thanks, Jagat.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.